So good afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm audible and sorry for the slight delay. There were some technical issues where we were not able to connect. So today I'll be dealing with some current affairs topics of science and technology. And before going to the current affairs topics of science and technology, just analyze or I'll just discuss certain aspects of what to prepare for science and technology, because we have hardly 2 months for the prelims examination. So I'll divide the session into three topics. First, we'll analyze certain aspects about what you should study for the prelims and how questions are being asked in the prelims, from which topic you get more questions in the prelims. So we'll do a quick analysis of the same, and then I'll tell you from which areas UPSC is asking more questions, so that in the next 2 months there are certain things which you should be very thorough with, or there are certain things which you should revise multiple times. Okay, even if you have not studied many other things, these areas you should focus upon. So I'll analyze the trends, or I'll discuss what all are the focus areas of UPSC, and then I'll tell you what all you should prepare for this year, or specifically some topics which you should focus on for this current year's prelims, and then I'll discuss certain current affairs topics. So there will be sessions for science and technology current affairs. So first session will be dealt by me, and one more session will be there by Sucharitan sir. So he'll be dealing some other topics of science and technology. So I'll be taking defense and ICT topics of current affairs, and Sucharitan sir will be dealing with space, astrophysics, biotechnology, etc. First, we will start with syllabus and weightage. So maybe you will go with this, but still, I just want to emphasize this before what is the topic. What are the topics you have to prepare for prelims? From prelims perspective, in syllabus there is only one term, general science. But what is this general science? What you have to prepare for general science is a big question mark. So what you should do is you should integrate your mains syllabus with the prelim syllabus. Questions comes mostly from the main syllabus in the prelims examination. So you might be thorough with this. Again, what is the number of questions to expect in science and technology? Those who are my students, those who were my students and Shankar IAS Academy would have known these things. So for the new candidates, I'm repeating certain points. So on an average, you should expect somewhere between 10 to 13 questions from science and technology. Now, the problem with science and technology is that there is no one book which you can study and make sure that you get all the questions from science and technology. Like we have a Lakshmikant in polity, or we have a Spectrum for modern India. So there is no one book for like that for science and technology. Plus, even if you study one and two NCRTs or whatever NCRTs, you are not sure whether you will be able to get the questions in science and technology, because at times they ask a bit more applied level science and technology questions. So this whatever they ask, pick up questions from research papers. Even when we, after getting the question paper, we Google and try to find the answer to these questions, it is at times difficult to find answers to many of these questions, because they ask random statements and we have to tell whether it is right or wrong. So at the difficulty level of science and technology questions is on the higher end. But what you can do is be thorough with the basics. We cannot expect or predict what statements UPSC will frame. But if you know the basics of subjects, certain elimination technique strategies you will be able to apply, and more or less you will be able to solve questions of science and technology. So on an average, you should expect somewhere between 10 to 13. Going on the current trend of last 10 years, we can say on an average 13 questions are asked in science and technology. I'm not including questions that come from environmental chemistry, like pollutions, pollutants, etc. If we include that also, certain geographical aspects are there, like evolution of Earth, etc. If we include that also, questions will go up to 18, 20, etc. I'm not including that in the science and technology. Core science and technology, if you take, you can expect somewhere around 10 to 13 questions. Add environment, add agriculture, science and technology related to all this, questions can hit up to 30. Okay, so this is the important. And then the problem with these questions is, polity, a question come from Lakshmikant, Spectrum, a question come from history, a question come from Spectrum, you will be able to answer. But science and technology, these questions, because you have not prepared thoroughly, you will not be able to answer. So this is one problem. So we'll discuss what you should do in the next 2 months for science and technology. Now the syllabus you will be knowing. Again, I'm not repeating the syllabus. One major aspect they focus is science and technology in everyday life. what all you should know from an everyday perspective, specifically information communication technology. They keep on asking things from ICT from an everyday life perspective. Then the achievements of India and Indians in science and technology, like whatever ISRO is doing, whatever DRDO is doing, these things are important. Then there are 5 core areas, they say: ICT and robotics, information communication technology, robotics, then nanotechnology, biotechnology, then space, and space. Though these are nanotechnology, biotechnology, space, ICT, robotics. These are the 5 areas which they say. So questions keep coming from all these areas. Again, I'll show you what are the questions, what are the terms you should learn in prelims. So in mains, if you analyze the last few years trends, we'll see that they're asking very generic questions. What is the application of biotechnology in science? What is the application of biotechnology in agriculture? These kind of questions are coming. But that is not the case in prelims. They're asking specific terms and specific words. You should know these terms and words from a science and technology perspective. Then IPR is the term. Now let's see what type of questions comes in science and technology. So first we have general science, basic science, theory. You get questions: general science, basic science, theory questions. Second is the application of this basic science, the technology side. So different technology or their applications can be asked in the question paper. So if you analyze the questions, see, I'm just showing you. My point is not to discuss the answers to these questions. My point is to show you how certain areas are being asked again and again by you. Even there are some areas they keep on picking. Okay, so first, if we analyze, see, last year they asked the basic difference between plant cells and animal cells. Maybe you would have studied it. Obviously, you would have studied it in class 10 science. But being an engineer, you would not have studied biology for the last maybe 10, 15 years. So immediately you may not be able to recollect this, right? So I'll not suggest that right now you go and read all the biology books. Not advisable. Whatever is there in your memory, try to recollect that, and or if you have done question papers, these kind of questions do appear in the science and technology question papers. So whatever you find in those question papers, revise that. Right now it is not advisable to go and read the entire science NCERTs. This is one thing. So plant animal cells. Then they asked about plant diseases. Virus diseases is another area UPSC is very fond of. So every year they keep on asking one virus disease, their remedies, all these things are being kept on us. So again, plant disease, how it is being spread. Then in 2019 they asked about Denisovan. So I think some fossils might have been found. It's like some cousin of Neanderthal. So they asked about this Denisovan. Again, it can be, you might have read about it, might not have read about it, some understanding of basic science, but you cannot read entire books to just get this one question right. So again, this is something which you might have read somewhere. This will help you in solving these kind of questions. Then black holes. Again, one point I want to stress regarding this UPSC questions. All these are UPSC questions. Okay, you should also Google and find out the terms which they ask in the options or answers. So in 2019 they asked about black holes and the significance of the observation, but there are certain terms in the options: Higgs boson particles, gravitational waves, wormhole, singularity. So these terms have come in the prelims paper, and again it will be repeated in the prelims paper, these terms. So take your time. If you don't know these terms, Google and find out what is the meaning of these terms. What are they? The physical concept of these terms should be understood. So the options, I'll show you again how options are repeated multiple times in multiple questions. So I'm just analyzing the questions of last 3 years, 2018, 19 and 20. Before that, I'm not going through the questions. Intense. The 2017 question paper is slightly different from the 1890 paper. Are Hindi also the cutoff is expected to be somewhere nearer than that range.
Sir,
so
sir,
the question.
Sir, audio is stopping, sir, in between.
1 second. All right. All right. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There is let me know, sir. So, so these terms also you should be aware. Then again, basic science. So again, when they ask questions, basic science. So if you have solved previous question papers, the question is about light, gravity, and how light is affected by gravity. And the third statement, matter warps its surrounding space and time. This was actually there in 2017 current affairs, right? So they question such a way that, sir, is there issues with the mic? Are there issues with the mic? Okay. So anyhow, this they have asked about Einstein's theory of relativity. Again, I am not telling you to read the entire physics NCRTs to study these things, but you know, in basic science, you know, there are certain terminologies you should be aware. So light and gravity, string theory, Earth's magnetic field, origin of Earth, so I'm mixing basic science and astrophysics. Okay. Black hole, gravitational waves, whole gravitation, theory of relativity, neutrinos, or subatomic particles in general. So these are some of the areas you should be. Shown. Hello. 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 All right. Again, sorry for the technical issues. So I was telling basic science and astrophysics, this is what you have to prepare. And then, you know, biology and biotechnology. This is another area. We'll come to technology part. So basic science, I will say biology, and clubbing to that, we have biotechnology. And this is one area from which UPSC for sure will ask definitely a question. Okay, biotechnology, and most probably from genetics. Genetics is one area from which we are getting questions every year. I'll tell you which areas you should focus. But to study these basics of this, if you have not read any books, I'll suggest certain chapter 12th standard biology books. You can read chapter 6, 8, 9, 10, 12. So these are the chapters you should read. If you have not read these chapters, you can selectively read so that you're strong in the biotechnology aspects of biology. Okay, cells, animal cells, etc. You leave it. We have no time to go through the entire NCERT of biology, but these chapters you should focus from a biotechnology perspective. And so this is what I have to say regarding. Now we'll go through the questions of biotechnology. Again, I'm not discussing these questions. I'm not discussing the answers to these questions. Just certain terms I want to emphasize. So 2020, they asked about pro-nuclear transfer. So this concept of three-parent baby is there from, I think, 2012, 13 and all. Ideas again and again there in current affairs news. But only thing is that you have to connect pro-nuclear transfer with mitochondrial diseases in offspring or three-parent baby. Then 3 statements are given. Again, genetic changes. Genetic changes can be introduced in the cells of eggs, etc. So it is genome genetics. Question is again from genetics. Then 2019, RNA interference. So RNA interference and why it has gained popularity. Go through the terms in this question. Gene silencing, right? Gene silencing, gene therapy, etc. Again, I'm not going through the answers. I just want to emphasize which of the following is not correct. Again, this question, I just want to give some knack of solving some science and technology questions. Even if you do not have any idea of biology, even if you do not have read anything about these aspects of biotechnology, when you get a question, please do give it a reading, so that at times you might feel that one among these statements is wrong, because this is a question. Even if I had no idea about the question about the answer, by reading through the statements, I might have picked the right answer. Because read through the statements. Functional chromosomes can be created by joining segments of DNA taken from the different species. Technically, theoretically, imagine that you are taking the chromosome of 2 different species, DNA of 2 different species and creating a chromosome. Is it possible? Have you ever heard of such a thing? First statement. Second, pieces of artificial functional DNA can be created in laboratories. Now, that is what we have been doing in gene editing, gene technology, genetics. We have been trying to do that for long time. Create artificial DNA outside. Third statement, a piece of DNA taken out from animal cell can be made to replicate outside a living cell in a laboratory. Kind of second and third means resemble, right? Second statement says about functional DNA is being created in laboratories. Third statement says that DNA can be taken out of animal cell and it can be replicated. Fourth statement, plants and animal cells can undergo cell division in a laboratory petri dish. So 2, 3 and 4 is kind of similar somewhere, right? But first statement, logically thinking, have you ever heard taking the DNA of 2 species and creating a chromosome? And what will be that species be? So logically, at times you will be able to make eliminations. So this is one thing I want to tell you, one cheat code or one crack of solving science and technology questions. Because even when you get questions, even when you get application level questions, for sure, if they are giving 3 statement, 4 statement questions, you would not have read all the, you would not have understanding of all these 4 statements. But if you might be knowing 1 or 2, so that you can eliminate the options. This will be possible in most science and technology questions. So this is what I want to say. Then again, Cas9. So CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing was asked in the previous year also, again repeated in the next year. So it is a molecular scissor, biosensor. Again, go through this term. What is a biosensor? See, 2018, they had asked about CRISPR-Cas9, right? And they repeated the Cas9 in 2019. These terms, artificial intelligence, blockchain, cryptocurrency, all this have been asked in the question papers. Artificial intelligence is asked, This question came in 2018. In 2020 prelims, they asked about application of artificial intelligence, and I think one statement question on blockchain technology. Okay, so questions repeats. Then vaccines is another area. So if you have analyzed 2020 question paper, even though it was a COVID year, we did not get any questions on COVID as such. So in 2021 prelims, you should be all thorough regarding different aspects of COVID, how COVID is being spread, the vaccination for that, the plasma therapy, the medicines we used, all these things you should be very familiar. So vaccination and how vaccination is done, etc. So this is 3 questions, again 3 statements, which you can apply some elimination technique in these questions also, even if you do not have any idea about pneumococcal conjugate vaccine. The third statement, the vaccine has no side effect and no allergic reaction, is kind of an extreme statement, so maybe you'll be able to eliminate. Then nanotubes, the application of nanotechnology in biotechnology, mix of that. So carbon nanotubes, how it is being applied in our body. Then drug resistance. So again, if you know the basic idea, if you have a basic idea of how we develop drug resistance, it is not because we had chronic issues. It is because we take certain things which will develop drug resistance in our body. So if you have that idea, you can eliminate 1 and 4. Answer will be 2 and 3. Then again, disease. So disease is another area. So UPSC have asked questions from Zika virus, Ebola, hepatitis, H1N1. All these diseases have been picked. So probably they might pick COVID this year or any other disease. There is a probability. So from biotechnology, so the first session I'll be focusing on this core areas, and the second session I'll be taking current affairs. This is what I'm planning. So there are certain areas, biotechnology and health. Together, you should focus on these areas. So first one is vaccines, drug resistance, vaccines, and I'll say virus. Vaccines, virus, drug resistance. Then genetics as a topic should be well prepared. In genetics, different aspects like gene editing, genome sequencing, gene silencing, so these are some of the areas from genetics: gene editing, gene sequencing, gene silencing, gene therapy, then cloning, GM crops, DNA profiling. Carbon nanotubes, targeted drug delivery, carbon nanotubes, targeted drug delivery, gene therapy. So at least be familiar with these terms. At least be familiar with these terms, because these are the areas UPSC is repeatedly asking in the prelims papers. So in biotechnology, be very spend some time and study the genetics part. Okay, what is gene editing, gene silencing, gene sequencing, etc. You do study, and then the different types of diseases. Probably, if you're lucky enough, you will get COVID this year. Some aspect of COVID, you should be prepared. So this is what you have to study in biotechnology. Now comes the third segment, ICT, information and communication technology, which is one area, two areas from which we get the maximum number of questions in technology aspect. So if we see ICT, again, I'll just show you the questions and then I'll tell you which are the topics you have to be thorough with. First, last year they asked about artificial intelligence. So application of artificial intelligence. Again, there is one thumb rule which I'll tell you later. So which of the following it can be used? Then a statement was asked about VLC. Again, it was asked last year. Visible light communication, right? Visible light communication, which is some, the technology we use in light fidelity. Light fidelity was already asked in 2016. They asked about the technology of that in 2020. Visible light communication. Then blockchain technology, again 2020. So if you remember, I told you this artificial intelligence, blockchain, etc. had already come in the 2018 options. They asked again, they gave 3 statements of blockchain, asked you to pick the correct statement. Then in 2018, they wrote a long story. It was, if you had time, it was interesting to read in the prelims exam hall. I know they asked about Internet of Things. But what I'll tell you now is go through the options. You know what is border gateway protocol, what is internet protocol, and what is VPN, virtual private network, the options of that. So either they can frame questions on certain technologies, like they have given 3 statements on visible light communication and asked you to pick the right statements. They framed 3 statements on blockchain, asked you to pick the right statement. Or they can ask the applications. Artificial intelligence, they gave you 3, 4, 5 applications, asked you which all are the correct applications. Then 2020 they asked about drones. So where all drones can be used in these applications. Then in 2019 they asked about the applications of wearable devices. So we all use wearable devices, smart gadgets. So what are the applications or where all it can be used? 3D printing, applications of 3D printing, where all we can use. It was asked in 2018. Then GPS, where all GPS can be used. So this was asked in 2018, applications of GPS. Now, one generic thing, whenever you get a question on application, mostly I'm not giving you a affirmative statement on, and you should not tell after the exam that it did not work. But mostly in this kind of application questions, all of the above works. At times, see, take this question on GPS, how GPS is used. So maybe you might be thinking how it is used in banking operations, right? So actually we can use GPS to identify the ATMs in a particular area. GPS, it will be connected and you are in an area, you will be able to track the ATMs in a particular area. Some banks have implemented it. But in the exam hall, you might have never heard about this, like ATMs, banking systems and GPS, are they related? So you might be confused, but I am telling you, if it is not outrightly wrong, if it is not a blunder to think about it, mostly, see, all these questions, GPS, it's all of the above. 3D printing, I think it was all of the above. Then wearable devices, I think it was D. Then drone, it was D. So like this, I think artificial intelligence question also, it was D. All of the above worked. So that answer key is yet to come, but I was just saying, if at all, again, it is not an absolute black and white. You should not blindly apply this. Read through the statements and logically think. If there is any possibility of that in the application sense. So I'll tell you, this year maybe there can be a question from computing terminologies, which they have not asked in the recent years, like supercomputers, quantum computers. It has been in use also in the last 1-2 years. So applications of quantum computers can be a possible question. So if you get a question like that, think about the broad aspects of application of quantum computers and try to solve. So these are some of the areas. Then comes this digital cyber security, organizations, etc. So in 2020 they asked about public key infrastructure. Okay, public key infrastructure, which is a digital security infrastructure. In 2019 they asked about digital signature. Again, there is a rule which you might have also heard, that in science and technology questions, if you don't, 3 statements are given, mostly D works. So this question where it did not work. So I'm also telling you, the cheat codes which we use to solve science and technology questions need not always work, the option, all of the above option, because here, if you read the statement, digital signature is an electronic record that identifies the certifying authority and it is used as a proof of identity. Actually, these two statements were wrong. But if you take digital signature certificates, these two were actually right. But in digital signature in its simplest form was only 3. So answer here was D. And most of the aspirants, I think, mark D, going by the D tendency of science and technology. So you should apply some logic also before you answer, use D. Then yes, technology itself, in last year, 2019, they asked VoLTE and LTE, the difference between 3G and 4G. So this year, maybe we can get a question on 5G. So we'll discuss 5G in some time down the line. Then again, application, augmented reality, virtual reality. So if you have some idea of augmented reality, virtual reality, this question, even if you have not read about, you have not studied augmented reality, virtual reality, go through the statements. You will be able to understand whether it is right or wrong. Read the first statement. In augmented reality, a simulated environment is created and physical world is completely shut out. You might have heard about Pokemon Go and augmented reality. If you have read, if you are reading, some basic things, you might have read about Pokemon Go and augmented reality. You can strike it out immediately because Pokemon Go, you know how it works. Through the camera, you are interfacing with your environment, or you are integrating this virtual character with your physical environment. So that can be struck down. So then only 2 options remain. See, if you strike one, B and D only remains. So actually 3 and 4 are right. I'm just giving you hints. Then another area, malwares. We'll discuss one malware which is in news, Pegasus, and a couple of more Trojans which have been in news in the current affairs session. But this is one area you have to focus, the malwares. So in 2018, they asked about malwares. So ICT. I might be going at a slightly faster pace. I understand that, but if at all you want, you can rewatch these videos. That is why we have certain top areas to finish in a particular time span. That is why I'm going at a slightly faster pace. So please cooperate. So there are certain areas you should be thorough in ICT. So starting, I'll tell. Data transfer technologies. So from this data transfer technologies, they have asked VLC, visible light communication, Li-Fi, Project Loon, near field communication. So all these topics have been asked, right? So more probable questions can come from data transfer technologies. This is one area you should be thorough with, data transfer technologies, right? And second is electronic gadgets. The gadgets we use. So from electronic gadgets, they have asked about, or electronic gadgets, or technologies. They have asked about drones, virtual reality and augmented reality. They have already asked. So what is left is merged reality. So you should read about merged reality. Then they have also asked about OLED, organic LED televisions, OLED screens. So electronic gadgets technology, mostly they ask the application, where they are being applied, etc. can be asked. Then in ICT, generations of mobiles. This is another area. So the different generations, starting from 0G to 5G, the different generations, out of which they have already asked 3G and 4G. They have already asked LTE and voice over long-term evolution. So this year they might pick up on 5G, or this year or next year somewhere down the line, they will pick up on 5G. This is another area you should focus. Generation of mobile phones, mobile networks. Then next I'll tell you is malwares. So we'll discuss about Pegasus. Malware is malfunctioning software. So different, at least the types of malwares you should be aware of. See, whatever malware comes, we say it is a virus, but it is not the same. There are different types of malwares: virus, worm, Trojan. You should be aware about all this: spyware, ransomware, scareware, adware. So all botnets. So all these things you should be aware of. So in which we'll discuss Trojans and Pegasus in the second half of the class. So malware is another area of ICT, which you should be prepared regarding malwares. Then cyber security. Cyber security and applications or organizations provisions. So in this, they have already asked public key infrastructure, digital signature, and you can include malware here also as a subpart. Questions can come on malwares. They have asked about cyber security laws. They have asked about cyber security laws. And then another area you have to focus on this is the digital transactions. Digital transactions. They have already asked a question on BHIM. So all other digital transaction methods, right, like UPI, Aadhaar enabled payment system, all these digital payment system you should read about. UPI, Aadhaar enabled payment system, credit, debit cards, all this read. So these are the areas from which I think you can expect questions in ICT. These are the core areas. Then one major area is there, computing terminologies. We'll discuss computing terminologies a bit more. So supercomputing, quantum computing, and cloud computing. At least these three you should be aware of. And in cloud computing, we have fog computing and edge computing. At least these much terminologies you should be aware of. Supercomputing, this too we'll discuss. Supercomputing and quantum computing. Cloud computing, you should try to read it by yourself. Edge and fog. All right. So now questions from nanotechnology. Mostly they ask application-based questions from nanotechnology. So last year they asked about carbon nanotubes. Then space. Again, space, more analysis will be done by Sucharitan sir. But some questions I'll tell you from space what we have to study. One thing is missions of ISRO and international space agencies like NASA, European Space Agency, etc. Almost every year they were asking questions about ISRO missions. 2019-20, no questions. So this year there is a high probability that a question might come from the ISRO mission. Aditya is there. Then we have Gaganyaan. So a question might pop up from all these areas. You should be prepared about it. So Aditya L1, Gaganyaan. Then we have tested a hypersonic technology demonstrator vehicle. All these things you should be aware. So space, certain questions. Almost every year you should expect at least one question from the space technology. Then defense. So defense training is like every couple of years, like 2016 they asked about INS Astradharini, 2018 they asked about the terminal high altitude air defense or the anti-ballistic missile system of USA. 1920 no question. So 21 there is a probability that you might get a question on defense. So what all you should prepare in defense? So defense basically we classify into three systems. So striking system. Again, those who have attended my class, this might be a repetition, but consider it as a revision. I'll discuss some current affairs in all this. Then we have patrolling system, and we have surveillance system. Then you should be prepared about the artillery. So question will come from any one of this. So what is the striking system? Nothing but the missiles. So all type of missiles should be prepared. Ballistic missile, cruise missile, anti-ballistic missile, anti-cruise missiles. You should be thorough with all this. Second is the patrolling system. the vehicles we use, Army, Navy, the Air Force, water vehicles we are using, military tanks, submarine, floating ships, then helicopters, aircrafts, all these things should be prepared. Surveillance system is about the surveillance devices we are using, radar, lidar, sonar, UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle. So all this will come in the surveillance system. And then artillery, the guns we have, the firing systems we have. So questions can pop up from any of this. So we see whatever has happened in the last 1 or 2 years, be aware about the updates in the defense technology. So this is one area. Then before going to current affairs, there are a couple of more areas I want to tell. One is green technology. This is another area where environment and science collaborate or converge, but still there are certain things you should be thorough about. One is biofuels. Second is hydrogen fuels, fuel cells. Then lithium ion batteries. So these you should be thorough with. So we are trying to have our first lithium refinery in Gujarat, right? First we are trying to set up our first lithium refinery. So there is a possibility that they might ask about lithium ion battery. Then aluminum air batteries. Aluminum air batteries. Then we have a national hydrogen energy mission. You should read about this, considering this. National hydrogen energy mission. So these are some of the areas which you should focus on the green technology. Right. Then another area in science and technology is the nuclear technology. Once, in a while they will ask about nuclear technology also. Our nuclear program, India's nuclear program. So we have a 3-stage nuclear program. Be very thorough with this in nuclear program and international collaborations. Collaborations. Then another thing is the Patent Act, Indian Patent Act, and different types of patents, which will come in science and technology. Right. In ICT, when I was discussing one topic, I forgot to tell you robotics. Okay, it will club with artificial intelligence. Yes, one area I wanted to stress in ICT is the fourth industrial revolution, and whatever terminologies are associated with the fourth industrial revolution. Okay, artificial intelligence. Already they have asked questions about it, but still there is a possibility of more questions. Artificial intelligence, IoT, blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, even though it is not directly related. No, we have come out with our own digital currency and all. So cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, machine learning, which is related with AI, robotics, especially the names of robots, okay, which India has developed or which we are using. Like we have developed Vyomitra, which we will be sending in the trial missions of Gaganyaan. So what are the different types of robots we have developed or robots we are using? So the possibility of names of these robots, questions coming from these areas. Big data. So I think big data is one area from which they have not asked the applications. Applications of big data is possible. Thorough, more probability they can ask the frame statements on like they asked in blockchain. They can ask 3 statements about this technology or probably the applications. This is one area in ICT you should know. So when telling about cryptocurrency, bitcoins, all types of cryptocurrencies, you should study the names also. Different types of cryptocurrencies, Ethereum, Dogecoin, etc. All right. Now, just one more thing I want to tell is COVID-19. You should be well prepared on COVID-19. So how it is getting transmitted, how the virus transmits, the method of viral transmission, the immunity, how we developed immunity, vaccines, plasma therapy, and the medicines even we used to prevent as preventive, like hydroxychloroquine, all these things. So be very thorough with COVID-19 and aspects of COVID-19. All right. So I'll just give you 2 minutes break. Then we'll start with the current affairs. So these are the topics I'll be mainly focusing in current affairs. We'll discuss about Pegasus, the issue of Pegasus and what is a spyware, etc. We'll discuss about this Pinaka rocket launcher. What is it? Some latest version of Pinaka rocket launcher we introduced. Then we'll discuss about 5G. 5G technology and what is 5G technology, what are the different types of 5G technology, etc. Then we have a STI policy, science technology innovation policy draft has come. We'll discuss some aspects of that. Then we'll discuss about supercomputers and quantum computers. So we have a national supercomputing mission, and we are building quantum computers. So what are quantum computers? What is quantum supremacy? What is qubit? All these things we'll discuss. What is the difference between a quantum computer and a normal computer? And we have recently achieved something called quantum key distribution. So DRDO recently achieved something called quantum key distribution. So these different terms we'll discuss, and we'll discuss some miscellaneous current affairs also, like certain malware names, etc. I want to discuss. Malware, certain Trojan names, etc., which have been in news. We'll discuss. So this is what I'm planning to do in the second segment of this session. We'll discuss these topics one by one, and I've already introduced many of the topics which you should be thorough with. Even if we do not have the time to discuss all these topics, you should be very thorough with whatever we discussed in the first segment of the class. All right. So just 2-3 minutes break, and then I'll be back. All right. So we'll start with Pegasus, the first topic in current affairs. So even when we are discussing Pegasus, you should understand that UPSC may not ask a direct question on Pegasus or what is Pegasus, what are the implications of Pegasus. They probably will pick on the background of Pegasus, which is malware. So as I told you, you should be very thorough with all types of malwares: virus, worm, Trojan, spyware, adware, scareware, ransomware, botnet. So these different types of malwares you should be very thorough with. From a current affairs perspective, we'll discuss what is Pegasus. So Pegasus, which is also called Q-Suite, is a spyware. One of the types of malwares, spyware. So this is actually developed by and marketed by an Israeli technology firm called NSO Group Technologies. So this is an Israeli technology firm. I think a group by military veterans of Israel. They have developed this company called NSO Group Technologies, and they have developed this spyware. And the logic or the reason behind this spyware is it will enable the law enforcement agencies, the intelligence agencies, to covertly extract data from terrorists or any anti criminal. Hello? Hello. So yeah. So the logic of NSO Group was that they developed this Pegasus to secretly extract data from these kind of criminals and terrorists, and it will help the law enforcement and intelligence agencies. Now the problem is that this is getting misused by government. So you would have heard about how this was used against a lot of people, whom the government wanted to snoop, not just in India, but in multiple countries. This was used. Now one point you should Pegasus, it is that it is a zero-click installation. It is a zero-click installation. What is a zero-click installation? Example, virus. If you have a virus, so virus generally gets attached to any email or any software. It can get attached only if you click on that link, or if you click on that software, virus will spread in your computers. But this is not like that. So at times you might get a missed call from some number, and through this number or through this call, a video call can come through WhatsApp. And even if you're not picking this video call, through different methods, even without clicking, this virus or this spyware can be installed in our mobile phones. So this is called a zero click installation. That is, no need to click on any links, and all kind of devices are vulnerable. In case of Pegasus, almost all kind of devices, that means both iPhones and Android phones, both of them are vulnerable to this Pegasus. It can be installed in both iPhones and Android phones. And what all are the implications of this Pegasus? Once Pegasus is installed in it is a spyware. So from the name itself, it can be used to spy. Whatever you are doing, it can be used to spy. So it can read your WhatsApp message or SMS. What all are the results of this Pegasus? So this is basically true for most spywares. So most spywares is able to do this. It can even record calls. Without your knowledge, it can record calls, it can access photos. So what are photos? Mobile phone, it can be accessed. It can track your GPS. It can track your GPS. It can switch on your camera and microphone secretly. It can switch on your camera and microphone secretly. It can switch on your camera and microphone secretly. It can your contact details. It can collect your contact details. Even it can steal passwords. It can steal passwords. So results of this software being installed in your, this spyware being installed in our mobile phones. It can steal all this information. So it is very easy for the government to snoop and get all. So this is a violation of our right to privacy. So now the case is going on. Government has not officially acknowledged this software, but through a group of media have collectively came out with this information, etc., etc. And there have been some positive uses of this Pegasus also. Mexico government has officially said they used this software to arrest a Mexican drug lord called El Chapo. This guy was arrested using this Pegasus. They used to snoop him and arrested him. But even the Mexico government has misused it to snoop on journalists, etc. So even though technically they say it is for some extracting data from criminals and terrorists, there is a lot of blatant misuse. This is the problem of Pegasus or Q-Suite as it is known, and it is a kind of spyware in which data can be extracted. So when you it can be used for espionage, sabotage, etc. So it can be even used by one government against. It can be even used by one government against another government. There have been cases, classic cases of governments using it against each other also. So this is the problem of this spyware being used. So imagine using this spyware of our leaders and information. This is also possible. I'm not sure if there are any issues with the microphone. So if at all there are any issues, coordinator, please let me know. Hello. All right. So this is the first topic, Pegasus. So I'm telling you, you should study all type of malwares, not just Pegasus, not just spyware. All type of malwares should be studied. And because we are discussing this malwares, I just want to introduce two more malwares. You might have heard about. First one is called Event Bot. Event Bot. So it is a mobile banking Trojan. It's a mobile banking Trojan. Event Bot. From financial applications. So it targets financial applications in the phone and steals data. And what is Event Bot? It is a Trojan. What is a Trojan? So you might have heard the story of Troy War, where they came as hello. 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 Okay. So Trojan be disguised as a legitimate software. Trojan will be disguised as a legitimate software. You will believe that it is a actual software and you will download it, and when we use it, you will understand that it will not be an actual software. So this is a Trojan. So event bot is a Trojan, a mobile banking Trojan. Then we have Blackbot, another Trojan. Blackbot. Blackbot is an Android malware. Blackbot is an Android malware. It is also a Trojan. Blackbot is also a Trojan, and it steals, it targets not just financial apps, but it tracks, targets our communication, social media apps, even the dating apps we use. So it targets all these social media, communication, dating apps, and it also steals sensitive information like passwords, credit card information, etc. So this is being targeted by this event bot, Blackbot, etc. So these are both examples of these were both Trojans which have been in use in the last 1 year. Next is Pinaka rocket launcher, a topic from. So you should just update yourself regarding all the latest missiles we have launched, any new surveillance systems we have added, any new patrolling system, any new submarines or any new ships. We have recently launched our own indigenous aircraft carrier. So update yourself on all those factual topics. Plus in defense, you should be thorough with the defense exercises also. And one good source I will recommend is the yearbook. India yearbook. I'm not asking you to read the entire yearbook, sitting, spending days. Just glance through the India yearbook, and whatever is the updates to your, whatever you have studied, just read it from India yearbook. So what is a Pinaka rocket launcher? So Pinaka rocket launcher is a multi-barrel rocket launcher. Multi-barrel rocket launcher. So what is multi-barrel rocket launcher? It can fire multiple, as you can see in the photo, it can fire multiple rockets simultaneously. It can fire 12 rockets simultaneously over a period of 44 seconds. This is a Pinaka rocket launcher. It can fire 12 rockets simultaneously over a period of 44 seconds, and it is a long range artillery, right? We have guns and all which is short range. Like if we have a close battle, we will not use Pinaka rocket launcher. These rockets are used as a long range artillery. We can target 45 kilometers or up to 75 kilometers. There are two versions of Pinaka, I'll tell you. So even up to 75 kilometers, we can target using this Pinaka rocket launcher. So it is a multi-barrel rocket launcher. It can fire 12 rockets simultaneously over a period of 44 seconds. It is a long range artillery system, and it was first used in the Kargil war. We first used the initial version of Pinaka was used in the Kargil war, and one battery of this Pinaka consists of 6 launch vehicles. Okay, one battery of this Pinaka consists of 6 launch vehicles, and it will cover an area of 1 kilometer into 1 kilometer. Okay, if you take the area, 1 kilometer into 1 kilometer area is covered by this one battery of Pinaka launcher, which consists of 6 launch vehicles. And again, another feature of this Pinaka is shoot and scoot. It has a shoot and scoot facility. It has a shoot and scoot facility. What is shoot and scoot facility? That is fire while moving. That is shoot and scoot. As you move this rocket launcher ahead, it can fire. What is the benefit of shoot and scoot? It can avoid being targeted. So if you are moving and firing, when the enemy is sending its defense. It will not be able to target our Pinaka. So this is the benefit of shoot and scoot. So Pinaka rocket launcher has shoot and scoot facilities. There are two versions of Pinaka, Mark 1 and Mark 2. Mark 1 version and Mark 2 version are there. So Mark 1 version can cover up to 45 kilometers. Mark 2 version can cover up to 75 kilometers. Mark 1 can cover up to 45 kilometers and Mark 2 can cover up to 75 kilometers. And this Mark 2 version is a guided missile system. Is a guided missile system. What is a guided missile system? No, if you had attended my class, when we discussed the difference between rockets and missiles, I would have told you that missiles are guided systems. They have guidance attached to them, either a radar or a GPS. A guidance is there, so that is why they are called precision weapons. They precisely can attack a particular point. But rockets in general are unguided systems. They do not have a guidance, so their precision will be lesser as compared to a missile. But in case of Pinaka Mark II, it is guided. That means it has navigation system, it has control and guidance. So we will attach GPS or radar facility to this Pinaka. So they are guided missile system. Generally for rockets, it is unguided. For Pinaka, this is a unique feature. They are guided systems. So navigation of this Pinaka is linked with our IRNSS. So our IRNSS, the navigation of Pinaka is done with the help of IRNSS. So again, another application of IRNSS. And one more point to remember in Pinaka is that it is indigenous. So India has developed the system by ourselves. So recently we conducted some test of Pinaka by increasing its range. That is why this Pinaka rocket launcher was in news. So there's a possibility that they can pick on Pinaka and ask maybe a simple definition of what is Pinaka. Pinaka is actually the name of Shiva's bow. That is how this Pinaka name comes. So it is actually a rocket launcher, and we can launch multiple. It is a multi-barrel rocket launcher. So this is the next topic. Now we will discuss 5th generation or 5G technology. So before going to 5G, you should be thorough with all the other generations, starting from 0 to 4G. What are the upgrades, etc. You should know. We will just focus on 4G and 5G, the major differences between 4G and 5G, and what exactly happens in 4G and 5G. So 5G is 5th generation. And what is the main advantage of 5G? There are two advantages. One is high speed data transfer. One is high speed data transfer, and the second is low latency. High speed data transfer and low latency. So this 5th generation can achieve an internet speed of up to 20 Gbps. It can achieve a speed of up to 20 Gbps. So for 4G, the maximum speed which we could achieve was 1 Gbps. In case of 5G, we can increase it up to 20 Gbps. And then we have something called latency time period. So what is this latency? That is the time duration for when we are making a call to get connected. No, we are sending a signal from this phone to the other phone and it should get connected. This is called latency. In 3G and all, the latency was very high. In 2G, when you made a call, you would hear this beep sound, no, beep, 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 and then the call will get connected. But these days, no, it is not there. You know, now the COVID message and etc. is there, but still the latency time period for the call to get connected is very less. For 5G, it will be further lower. So these are the two advantages. So for 4G, the latency was 10 milliseconds. Okay, 4G, that latency was 10 milliseconds. In 5G, we are reducing it further to 1 millisecond. So these are the two main advantages of 5th generation. First, we have high speed data transfer. We will be able to reach up to what we can say 20 Gbps data transfer speed. And second is the low latency. The time for a call to get connected is very less. It is reduced up to, it is less than 1 millisecond. Is less than 1 millisecond is the latency. And then another feature of 5G is the millimeter wave spectrum we are using. The spectrum we use in 5G is high frequency, high speed and high coverage spectrum we are using. So we have high frequency, high coverage and high speed is achieved using 5th generation mobile phones. So the frequency range of 5G can extend from 30 to 300 gigahertz. From 30 to 300 gigahertz. For 4G, the frequency range was 3 gigahertz. But in 5G, we are moving to high frequency spectrums. From 30 to 300 gigahertz we will be using. So this is another difference. The frequency for 4G, the frequency was somewhere around 3 gigahertz. We are moving towards 30 to 300 gigahertz in 5G. Now the technology we were using. So in 3G, we had LTE or long-term evolution. This was asked in the prelims already, long-term evolution. So this is a data-only network. So if we are using, that is actually 3.9G, upgraded version of 3G, LTE, long-term evolution. Here, if you are using this LTE, you will not be able to make calls. To make calls, we had to switch to older generations, maybe 3.5G or 3G, we had to switch to make calls. Then we developed 4G, which is VoLTE. That is voice over long-term evolution. Here, we are able to make data plus voice. So now you will be using, most of us will be using 4G SIMs. So here it will in the top of the mobile phones, we will be seeing VoLTE. So this is voice over long-term evolution where we are having high-speed data plus voice. Right. Now 5G will be improved VoLTE. So 5G also will be using long-term voice over long-term evolution, but it is improved or upgraded VoLTE. This is another difference of 5G. Now, one more information you should remember is 5G has 3 bands. There are 3 bands in 5G. So we have a low band, we have a mid band, and we have a high band. There are 3 bands: low band, mid band, and high band. So what are the features of these low bands? If at all they want to make the question complex. So just like year before last, they asked about LTE, VoLTE. If at all they want to make it complex, they can go to the bands also. So low band, the speed, maximum speed you will get is 100 Mbps. Okay. So there is a band of 5G where the speed is only 100 Mbps, but it will have good coverage. This is the advantage. The coverage of this will be good, but maximum speed is 100 Mbps. And this is basically used for an ordinary customer. So commercial cell phone users will use this. commercial cell phone users will use only, we will only need this low band. No, that itself will be a major upgrade on our 4G. Now comes mid band and high band. So mid band will have lower coverage and lower penetration of signals. So if you compare with the low band, mid band will have lower coverage and penetration of signals, but the speed will increase. Speed will obviously increase. And if we come to high band, it will have very limited coverage and penetration of signals. So the coverage of this high band will be very less. If you have, now again in 5G we are going towards portable mobile towers. That is another change. Instead of big towers, we will have small towers. Portable towers will be there. So if we are using this high band 5G, the coverage maybe one room only, or maybe one hall only, or maybe it will be 1 kilometer only. The coverage will be very less, but the high band can achieve a speed of 20 Gbps. High band will achieve a speed of 20 Gbps. So this mid band and high band is basically used for industrial and specialized applications. Okay, so this IoT etc. will work. Internet of Things, all this industrial revolution will be driven by high band or mid band 5G technologies. So low band is basically used for commercial users or individual users. High band and mid band will have high speeds, but the coverage will be very less as compared to low band. So these are the different bands of 5G technology. So what are the major differences between 4G and 5G? First one, if we compare 4G and 5G, so first, if we compare the latency, so latency of 4G is approximately 10 milliseconds. Here it is less than 1 millisecond. Then data traffic. If we compare the total data traffic in 4G, it is 7.2 exabytes. That is 10 raised to 18, I guess. Exabytes per month. That is the total data traffic in 4G. In 5G, total data traffic will exceed 50 exabytes. It can exceed 50 exabytes per month. Speed. In 4G, it is can be a maximum of 1 Gbps. In 5G, we can reach up to 20 Gbps. Then the connection density, another difference. In 4G, we will have, as of now, we have like 1 lakh connections. 1 lakh connections per kilometer square area. It will increase to 10 lakh connections per kilometer square in 5G. This is another improvement of 5G over 4G. The connection density will become 10 lakh connections per kilometer square. Right. So these are some of the changes of 4G and 5G. So the main change is two things. One, as we discussed, one, the data transfer speed will increase. So the edge computing technology, etc., will add to the 5G data speed. So again, go through the edge computing. What is edge computing? Edge computing will add to this speed of 5G. Plus, as I told, there will be portable mobile towers, which will again add to the speed of 5G. So the network speed will be very high. Also, the latency will come down. So it has very low latency. Less than 1 millisecond is the latency of 5G. So we have started the 5G trials. I think South Korea is the first country to roll out 5G. India started the 5G trials, and soon we will move on to 5G SIM cards. Okay, so there is a probability that a question can pop up on 5G if they want to ask on the mobile generations of mobile network. Right. So the next topic is policy, draft science and technology innovation policy, science, technology and innovation policy, which is the policy is actually 2020 policy, but it was released this year only, and it is replacing the science, technology, innovation policy of 2013. So this is the next topic, STI policy of 2020. So in science and technology, one important area you should cover is the policies. So we have come with a blockchain technology policy, and water, we have a clean energy policy. So whatever policies we come in different aspects, and artificial intelligence policy is there. So policies are important. They can pick up questions. See, questions are generally picked up from government documents or newspapers is also possible. So the government documents, whenever they come out with these policies, even if you do not read through the entire policy document, at least I'll suggest go through the first chapter, introduction chapter, and every chapter at least you read the introduction and conclusion. Okay, summarizing whatever they have said, and finally the recommendations of this policy you should be updated, because if they ask policy, they will ask regarding what are the different provisions of this policy. This is the most probable question you can expect from the policies. So we have science, technology, and innovation policy. STI policy of 2020. So obviously it is released by Department of Science and Technology. Released by Department of Science and Technology, and it will replace Science, Technology, Innovation Policy of 2013. So we had a policy in 2013 that will be replaced. So almost, no, this is only a draft, but kind of the policy will be as such. So there is a probability that they can ask question on this policy. Now, what are the first, whenever you study a policy, there will be some objectives, broad objectives, and there will be some features which we are introducing to this policy. So these two things should be focused. What are the objectives and features of this policy? So what are the objectives? What are the objectives? Mainly, there are three objectives. So very generic objectives. Even if they ask the objective of this policy is 1, 2, 3, by reading this objective itself, you will be able to understand whether it is linked to STI itself. So first objective is identify what are the strength and weakness in our STI ecosystem. Right, that is the first thing, to do an analysis of our ecosystem and understand or identify strength and weakness of our ecosystem. We will identify the strength and weakness of our STI ecosystem. This is the first objective. Then all the policies, okay, even though it is a science and technology policy, ultimately we want to make some difference in the socio-economic development. This will be there. Okay, it is. So if at all they give a statement like the STI policy aims to catalyze social economic development, don't think because it is science and technology there is no socio-economic development. Ultimately everything has to impact socio-economic development. So the second objective is catalyzing socio-economic development. Catalyzing socio-economic development. And third, obviously we have to be globally competitive. So making Indian system globally competitive. So these are the three objectives, very broad objectives. No, I think more than the objectives, features might be asked in the questions. If at all they ask about policy, the only thing you should understand it has implications on the socio-economic development also. We want to catalyze socio-economic development also. Now, what are the features? This is what you should focus. You should understand. Maybe you have read about it. If not, do read. The first point I want to emphasize about this STI policy is not directly related to STI, but it is related to inclusion. Inclusion, right? So this is one major change we are trying to incorporate in this STI policy. That is, we are trying to bring an equity and inclusion charter. Equity and inclusion charter. Right. In science, technology, and innovation, we should tackle all sorts of discrimination. This is one important aspect we are trying to bring in this policy. So 30% representation in all decision-making bodies will be given to women. This is one change. 30% representation in all decision-making bodies relating to STI will be given to women. One major change they have suggested. Second, another major, very important change, spouses of scientists who belong to this LGBTQ community will be given spousal benefits. So if you are from the LGBTQ plus community, you have a spouse, the spousal benefits will be given to the LGBTQ community. Again, a major change. So again, if at all a statement like this comes, if you have not read some of the provisions, you might think, what is this has to do with the STA policy? But this is what major change, the inclusion. So spousal benefits. So spousal benefits will be given to LGBTQ plus community, and all publicly funded scientific institutions should have cultural and structural changes to include disability. Okay, or people with disabilities. Okay, to incorporate them. We structural also, right? They have to know there should be some facilities to help them. So structural and cultural. What is cultural? Our attitude, right? Our attitude should be more inclusive. So structural and cultural changes for people with disability in all publicly funded scientific institutions. And then again, one major change which we are trying to include, child care benefits. Now only mother is getting maternity leave, as such, as if the mother is fully responsible for taking care of the child. They are making child care benefits general neutral. Child care benefits are going to be gender neutral. So these are some of the major changes in the inclusion, and this is kind of path breaking also. These changes we are trying to bring. So first 30% representation to women, spousal benefits to LGBTQ community, structural and cultural changes to incorporate persons with disabilities, and then child care benefits is also given, is going to be made gender neutral. Then next feature is open science policy. So there is a one in everything we do now. So one nation, one subscription, that is open science. One nation, one subscription. One nation, one subscription. So what the government is planning to do, government wants to make all scientific knowledge and data available to everyone. So if you have done some research and all, you will know how difficult it is to get access to different journals, magazines, etc. Right? So what the government is planning to do, government will get bulk subscriptions and free access to all scientific journals. So this is open science policy. One nation, one subscription, bulk subscription and free access. Bulk subscription and free access. Bulk subscription and free access to all scientific journals. All scientific journals. And government is also planning to bring one STI observatory. There will be one STI observatory. So these terms you should be familiar with. Inclusion, open science policy, so that if at all a statement comes regarding any of this, you will be able to write STI observatory. What is this observatory? It will be a repository of all data generated. Okay. So whatever data generated, it will be kept in this STI observatory. It will be a data repository. It will be a data repository. This is another change. So open science policy is there. Then when they make some policy decisions, okay, there should be some research inputs. So you might be knowing many states have flawed in their COVID response, or even the vaccine policy had become kind of flawed during our second wave. If we had proper research inputs regarding how COVID or vaccination, etc., should have been done, maybe we could have improved our COVID response. So we are setting up education research and collaborative research centers. Education research centers and collaborative research centers. So what is the aim of this education research center and collaborative research center? They will give inputs to policy makers and they will bring different stakeholders together. Just take the example of COVID. If all the stakeholders had come together, the vaccines, the people who made the vaccines, the doctors, the policy makers, everybody had come together and discussed, okay, we might have been able to deal the second wave in a better manner. But at many places we flawed. Even the central government and many state governments did have failures. So all of them had to come together and deal it. So we are now setting up a education research center and collaborative research center who will give inputs to the policy makers. Then we have a research and innovation excellence framework. Research and innovation excellence framework. RIEF. So what is the purpose of a framework? So framework is something which will give some measurements. So this is to improve the quality of our research. So we will have certain frameworks where what is excellent research. So if we have a framework, we have something to look up to, right? So similarly, we are setting up a research and innovation excellence framework. This is the core feature of this policy. Research, innovation, excellence framework. Then we have an archive for research. Fifth is Indian S&T Archive of Research. Indian S&T Archive of Research. Again, you know what is the function of an archive. So archive will have all the outputs, whatever public research we are doing, it will be kept in this archive. So archive will have access to outputs of publicly funded research. Outputs of publicly funded research. So this is the next feature. Then we are setting up another important point. We might not exactly link when we hear the policy. We are setting up a STI development bank. We are setting up an STI development bank. So again, in strategic areas, we would need long-term investments. Especially in certain research areas, we would need long-term investment where money would be required for larger period of time. There might not be results for for long term. We need huge investment. So at times banks may not be willing to lend money to people. So we are setting up a science, technology, and innovation development bank for long-term investments in strategic areas. Not all areas, long-term investments in selected strategic areas. Long-term investment in selected strategic areas. Like nuclear science, space, cyber technology, biotechnologies are all strategic areas. So here we would suppose we are developing a supercomputer. We want to develop a quantum computer in the next 10 years, which would need a huge pool of money, right, for this research. So somebody should be there to lend this money. So this will be done by STA Development Bank. Then we have Strategic Technology Development Fund. Strategic Technology Development Fund. Again, you can connect it to the previous point. What is the purpose of this fund? To indigenize or home grow strategic technologies. We have to develop strategic technologies in India in areas like nuclear science, space, biotech, nanotech, cyber technology. So we have to indigenize all this. So for this, we need money, and this money will be given by a strategic technology development fund. So we are creating a fund to home grow certain strategic technologies like nuclear science, space, cyber technology, biotechnology, etc. And this fund will be managed by a strategic technology development board. This fund will be managed by a strategic technology development board. This fund will be managed by a strategic technology development board. And finally, the last point is science diplomacy. Science diplomacy. So you might have heard about vaccine diplomacy. What was vaccine diplomacy? We try to give vaccines to all the other, many other countries. So similarly, we use science and technology diplomatic benefits. S&D for diplomatic benefits. S&D for diplomatic benefits and diplomacy for S&D development, both ways. Diplomacy for S&D development, both ways. So, how difficult it is to get technology transfer from this Russia, USA and all. So if we use better diplomacy, our S&D will develop. That is one way. And we will use our S&D for diplomatic benefits, like vaccine diplomacy is the best example. We develop vaccines and we try to export it to different countries. So this is last point of this policy, science diplomacy. All right. Now the last topic I would like to discuss, or the last two topics, is regarding modern computing terminologies. So first we'll discuss supercomputing. We'll discuss supercomputing and quantum computing, certain aspects. So we'll discuss the National Supercomputing Mission. So a couple of press releases, more than couple of press releases came in the last 1 year, because we have started the third phase of this mission, right? So this is why it was in news. So, probably there can be questions from supercomputers, the names of supercomputers, or even the National Supercomputing Mission. You can expect question on all these topics. It is highly, highly probable that we might get a question on any of these topics. So this National Supercomputing Mission, so it was announced in 2015, right? It was announced in 2015. And what is the purpose of this National Supercomputing Mission? We will connect our academic and R&D institutions. So we have a lot of academic institutions, IITs, NITs, ICER, etc. And similarly, we have our R&D institutes like different labs, even DRDO, ISR, all of them are doing R&D. So we are planning to connect this academic institutions and our research R&D institutions through 70 high performance supercomputers. This was our plan. We will be developing 70 high performance supercomputers across 75 institutions. We are developing 70 supercomputers across 75 institutions, and all of them will be connected over a grid, right? The supercomputers will be connected over a supercomputing grid. over our national knowledge network. We have a national knowledge network, like connecting all these academic institutions and research institutions. So over this national knowledge network, we will develop a supercomputing grid. That is what we are developing. So before going to the supercomputing mission, what is a supercomputer? You should know this. What is the difference between a ordinary computer and a supercomputer? Again, those who have attended my classes, we have already discussed these topics, but those who are attending it for the first time, you should know what is a supercomputer. What is a supercomputer? The difference between a supercomputer and an ordinary computer is in the, we say the supercomputers are very fast. They have high performance. Supercomputers are high performance computers. What is this high performance? It is the number of instructions they execute per second, right? So for a normal computer, the instructions are executed in million per second instructions. 1 million instructions are executed per second. But when we move to supercomputer, it becomes billion instructions per second, right? From 1 million, it becomes 1 billion instructions per second. That is the difference between a supercomputer and an ordinary computer. So the instructions executed is very fast, and the speed of a supercomputer, again, you might know, is expressed in flops, floating point operations per second. So this is flops, floating point operations per second. The fastest supercomputers, is operating in petaflops. The fastest supercomputers operates in petaflops. So we'll discuss the world's fastest supercomputers, etc. So petaflops is 10 raised to 15 flops per second. And if it is not as fast, it will operate in teraflops. That is 10 raised to 12 instructions per second. That is the difference between petaflop and teraflop. We are developing supercomputers which will work in exaflops. This is coming. As of now, we have no supercomputers which work in exaflops. But soon, before the next prelims, I think supercomputers will come out which will work in exaflops. So US, China, all of them are developing computers which work in exaflops. So this is the basic of a supercomputer. The number of instructions they execute per second is super high. And this will help us a lot in the research process. Mathematical calculation, weather forecasting. So applications of supercomputers, please do study. Possibly they can ask about the application of supercomputers also. So we have a national supercomputing mission where we will be developing 70 supercomputers across 75 institutions. This was a target. And we were planning to spend almost 4,500 crores in a span of 7 years. This was the plan. So the mission started in 2015. So by 2022, we wanted to develop 70 supercomputers, and we wanted to connect all our academic and research institutions. But we know the pace. We are about to finish. In the classes, we told that in the initial press release, they said that they will finish the second phase by April. Now they have moved it to September, but we don't know when they will finish the phase 2. But phase 3 also have already started. So different phases we'll discuss. So this is the national supercomputing mission. We were spending 4,500 crores over 7 years. And which are the ministries? Again, very important. Which are the ministries which are involved in this national supercomputing mission? So it is jointly steered by Ministry of Electronics and IT and Department of Science and Technology. So these are the ministries in charge of this mission. Ministry of Electronics and IT, Department of Science and Technology. They steer this mission, and it's implemented by CDAC. So Center for Development of Advanced Computing and IISc Bangalore or IISc Bengaluru. So it is implemented by these two institutions. This supercomputing mission is implemented by these two institutions, CDAC and IISc Bangalore. It is steered by two ministries, Ministry of Electronics and IT and Department of Science and Technology. Right. Now, there are 3 phases to this mission. Phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3. So in phase one is already over. In phase one, what we were planning to do, we were importing all the components of the supercomputers, and we were just assembling it in our country. This is what we used to do. Okay, what we were doing is we were importing all the parts of the supercomputers, and we were just assembling these supercomputers in India. And we developed 5 supercomputers in our phase. So the first supercomputer developed under this National Supercomputing Mission was Param Shivai. So all the supercomputers are named with Param. So we have Param Shivai, which was the first supercomputer we developed under this mission, not the first supercomputer in India. This was the first supercomputer developed under this mission, and it was developed by Banaras Hindu University, BHU. BHU developed this first supercomputer, and then we developed 5 more supercomputers: Param Shakti, Param Brahma, Param Shakti, Param Brahma, Param Yukti, Param Sangnak. So these are the 5 supercomputers we developed in the phase 1 of our mission. Okay, these computers are developed, and if you want, you can check the institutes also which developed. Like Param Shakti is developed by IIT Kharagpur, Param Brahma is developed by IISER Pune, Param Yukti is developed by Jawaharlal Nehru Center for Advanced Scientific Research in Bangalore, and Param Sangnak is developed by IIT Kanpur. So these organizations develop this supercomputers. Now phase 2 completed by September 2021. This is what they have said. Phase 2 will be completed by September 2021, and by the end of phase 2, our supercomputing speed will be increased to 16 petaflop. Once we finish phase 2, so currently I think 9 more institutions are developing supercomputers. So by the end of phase 2, our total supercomputing speed will increase to 16 petaflops. And phase 3 has started this year. So in phase 3, we will be developing fully indigenous supercomputers. We will be developing. First phase, we were only assembling it. Here, everything will be developed in India. So phase 3, we are targeting to develop fully indigenous supercomputers, and we are trying to achieve a supercomputing speed of 45 petaflops. So once this supercomputer is established at the end of phase 3, India will have a supercomputing speed of 45 petaflops, and there will be a supercomputer, which will be operating at 20 petaflops. Once this is developed, this will become the fastest supercomputer in India. Okay, when we developed it. So we are planning to develop a supercomputer which will operate at 20 peta per second. Now, a probable question can be, which is the fastest supercomputer in India? So if you have not gone through the current affairs, you might still say Pratyush is the fastest supercomputer in India, which is wrong. So in last October, CDAC developed a supercomputer called Param Siddhi. Param Siddhi. This is the fastest supercomputer in India now. So it is a high performance computing artificial intelligence supercomputer. So it is a high performance computing artificial intelligence. So if you have learned artificial intelligence, you know it's capable of doing machine learning, deep learning, etc. So it is a high performance computing artificial intelligence supercomputer, and this is developed under our National Supercomputing Mission. It is developed under National Supercomputing Mission. Now, what is the speed of Param Siddhi? Remember that, because we will compare it with the world's fastest system. So the speed of Param Siddhi, there are two speeds. There is R peak and R max. So R peak is 5.26 flops and R max is 4.6 petaflops, or at least remember 5.2 petaflops. Remember 5.2 petaflops. So what is the difference? R peak is the theoretical maximum speed we could achieve with this supercomputer, but we have not achieved it. We have achieved only R max, which is 4.6 petaflops. The theoretically possible, practically possible speed we have achieved is 4.6 petaflops. Right. And globally, there is a ranking of top 500 supercomputers. So every year, this list will come. And this Param Siddhi is ranked 62 out of top 500. So this is the fastest supercomputer in India, and it has been ranked 62. We have two supercomputers in top 100. One is Param Siddhi and the second is Pratyush. So just you can check about Pratyush. It is developed by Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, and it is used for weather forecasting, right? And the third fastest supercomputer is Mihir. It is also developed by Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. It is also used for weather forecasting. So Pratyush, the speed is 4 petaflops, and Mihir, the speed is 2.6 petaflops. All right. So these are the fastest supercomputers in India. So we have Param Siddhi, which is currently the fastest supercomputer. 4.6 petaflops is the R max we could achieve. Then we have Pratyush and Mihir, which are both used for weather forecasting supercomputers. Now, which are the fastest supercomputers in the world? That also you should remember, because they can pick on that. Right. So which country has the fastest supercomputer in the world now? It is Japan. The fastest supercomputer in the world now is Fugaku, which is developed by Japan. Right. Fugaku, which is developed by Japan. And can you guess the speed of this? It is 415 petaflops. So this is the fastest. As I told you, now we are moving from petaflops to exaflops. So soon this gets changed at least every couple of years. This keeps on changing, the fastest supercomputers. So Fugaku is the fastest. Then we have second is Summit, which belongs to US. It has a speed of approximately 150 petaflops. Summit. And the third is Syrah, which also belongs to USA. Syrah, and this has a speed of 94.6 petaflops. The fourth and fifth supercomputers belongs to China. So the fourth fastest supercomputer is Sunway Taihu Light, which belongs to China, and it has a speed of 93 petaflops. And the fifth, now once it was the fastest supercomputer, now it is the fifth, Tianhe 2. It also belongs to China, and it has a supercomputing speed of 61.4 petaflops. 61.4 petaflops. So the latest speeds of these supercomputers, 61.4, and these are the fastest supercomputers in the world. So remember this. So UPSC can ask in different ways, like the terms, the Fugaku, Summit, Syrah, etc. recently seen in news are supercomputers, corona vaccines, different things they can frame. So these terminologies, please do remember, these are the fastest supercomputers in the world. Right. Now the last topic I'll discuss today will be quantum computing. Quantum computing, quantum computers, qubits, etc. Right. So quantum computers works on the principles of quantum mechanics. Again, those who have sat in my class, some points will be repetition, but some points I want to discuss new also. So we will discuss about quantum key distribution, which has happened recently. So I'll add that. So initial portions I'll be just repeating for the sake of general audience also. So quantum computing is based on quantum mechanics. What is quantum mechanics? That is how our matter and energy behaves at a subatomic or atomic level. This is what is quantum mechanics. So we have classical mechanics, which is based on how object or how things move or with everyday size and speed, like a normal ordinary object, how it will move. No, this object will exist at one place at one time. This is classical mechanics. Their properties are more predictable. But when we move into atomic and subatomic levels, that is quantum mechanics, the object exists in a haze of probability. We cannot say that an object will be at a particular point at a particular time. We cannot say. No, there is only a probability that it will be there at that point of time. This is called quantum mechanics. So an object can be at either A or B. This is quantum mechanics. In classical mechanics, that is in our normal situations or our everyday life, how things move in our everyday life. So a particular object will be at a particular point at a particular point of time. A particular object will be at a particular place at a particular point of time. We can say this in classical mechanics. In quantum mechanics, we will not be able to say this. So an object will be, there will be a probability of an object being there at a particular point of time. So it will change as we move to atomic and subatomic levels. This is the basic concept of classical mechanics. Now, what is the difference between conventional computers and quantum computers? So conventional computers up to supercomputers, the information is stored as bits. Okay, information is stored as bits. That is either 0 or 1. Classical computers up to supercomputers. So information is stored as bits, and this information is stored in electrons. Information is stored in electrons. So one electron will be either 0 or 1. There is a fixed value to it. It will be either 0 or 1. But in case of quantum computers, information will be stored as qubits or quantum bits. Information will be stored as qubits or quantum bits. Now, what is this quantum bit? So quantum bit or qubits are basically fermions, not electrons. They are fermions, which are also called angel particles. This fermions represents qubits. And qubits, one property of this qubit is that it can hold the value of either 0 or 1, just like our bits. Also, it can be simultaneously 0 and 1, right? So a qubit can be either 0 or 1, or it can be 0 and 1 simultaneously. This is a property of quantum mechanics. This is the property of superposition. This property is called superposition, where a particular qubit can hold the value of 0 and 1 simultaneously. So in normal computers, classical computers, up to supercomputers, it will be, the bit will be either 0 or 1. It will hold only one information. But in case of quantum computers, it holds, it can be both 0 and 1 simultaneously. This is called superposition. And so it can be either 0 or 1 or 0 and 1. It can hold any of these positions. And the relationship among these states is called entanglement. So two properties. One is superposition. So at times they might ask, just give these terms. term superposition, entanglement, etc. is related to quantum computers. So what is superposition? Qubits holding the value of 0 and 1 simultaneously is called superposition. And this relationship between the state of 0, 1, 0 and 1, etc. is called entanglement. There is some more understanding to this, but I'm not going to the details, because if one value changes, correspondingly another value will change. That happens in entanglement. So one value changes, something is entangled. Some qubits are entangled. This is entanglement. So how they are connected, or the relationship among these states, is called entanglement. And because of this superposition, what is the advantage? That is what you have to know. Because of this, it can do parallel calculations, or it is able to perform the work of many classical computers simultaneously. Okay, so if a classical computer can perform something in 10,000 years, quantum computer will be able to do it in, let's say, 5 seconds, because the qubits are able to hold multiple values simultaneously. It will be able to perform parallel calculations simultaneously, or it will be able to perform the work of classical computers, multiple classical computers at the same time, right? So this is the advantage. So if we take a classical computer, so a bit, consider this is a bit, it will be either 0, right? There it will be either 0 or 1. There is no in between value. But for quantum computers, it will be both. No, it can be it can be 0, or there is a phase where it can be 0 and 1. It can be 1 also. So this is called superpositioning, right? Now, one advantage. So what are the applications of quantum computers? This can also be a question. So one thing I told you is research, calculations, weather predictions, whatever we are doing with normal computers up to supercomputers, it can be done at a much faster speed using quantum computers. So research, all kind of fundamental research, questions in physics, gravity, black holes, whatever we want to do. If you give an input, output will come in super fast time, right? So this is one application. Second important application of this quantum computers is secure communication. This is very important, secure communication. So certain communications we want it to be very secret, like defense communication, or banking transactions, or say space communication. We want it to be extremely secret. In normal computers up to supercomputers, it is possible that a third party can intervene and read our messages. It is possible. But in quantum computers, this will not be possible, right? In quantum computers, it is not possible for a third party to decipher our messages and read our messages. That is not possible. So how it happens? So this, is used. This was used by DRDO, and the secure communication is called quantum key distribution. This secure communication is called quantum key distribution. So what happens in this quantum key distribution? So basically, we use cryptographic protocol. In quantum key distribution, we are using cryptographic protocol. What is this cryptographic protocol? Messages will be encrypted. Okay, so it will not be, so I am saying hello, how are you? Okay, I am sending you a message of hello, how are you? It will not be hello, how are you? It will be encrypted into something else. So there will be a random secret key. Okay, so this will be encrypted, and there will be a random secret key. There will be a random secret key which is known only to the sender and receiver. The only sender and receiver will know this key, and using this key, you will be able to read the message. This is called encryption and decryption, right? So messages are encrypted and decrypted and sent. Now, what will happen if a third party try to intervene in the system? So this is a property of quantum mechanics, that if you try to disturb or if you try to measure a quantum system, it will disturb the system. Okay, if a third party tries to intervene or interfere in the system, it will disturb the system, and because of the disturbance, there will be transmission error. So what is this transmission error? Suppose I'll give you one small example. Suppose you are entering a password 1234. Okay, you are doing a bank transaction and you are entering a password 1234. Somebody, a third party is there who is trying to read this message. So the in quantum mechanics, if somebody is trying to measure a quantum system, it will disturb the system. And what will happen? So simultaneously it can have two values, right? So it will change the value. If it was 0 at one point, it will immediately change to 1. And what will happen? This will be reversed, like 2134. So the password will become wrong and access will be denied. So even the receiver will not be able to receive it because the message will be changed, right? So a third party cannot intervene and read this messages which is sent through quantum computers. So this is one major feature of quantum computers. Communications will be secure, right? And this technology is used in quantum key distribution. So a secure communication method, which was successfully used by DRDO recently, and they used this cryptographic protocol where messages were encrypted and there were secret keys which were shared only between the sender and receiver. And if at all a third party tries to read this, there will be transmission errors and the messages will not be messages will be reversed. Okay, it will be shuffled and the end users will get a warning that there is some discrepancy or there are some issues in the message, and the information will be corrupted. Information will get corrupted. Whatever you are sending, it will be corrupted and it will prevent data leaking. All right, this is called quantum key distribution. And again, one major application, as I told, is it is used in secure communication. Then it can be used in pharmaceuticals. So the time we require to discover a new molecule will be reduced by a large quantity of time can be saved in pharmaceutical. So anywhere you think with your common sense, whatever you can do with a computer, whatever research. So we use supercomputers COVID. Okay, so if you are using it in quantum computers, the speed will be very fast, right? This is called quantum supremacy. So pharmaceuticals, quantum supremacy. So what is quantum supremacy? Quantum supremacy is a quantum computer solving a problem that cannot be solved or that cannot be expected of a classical computer in a normal lifetime, right? And in a normal lifetime, a classical computer will not be able to solve a problem. This will be solved by quantum computers in fraction of seconds or in short span of time. This is called quantum supremacy. So Google has a quantum computer called Sycamore. You might have heard. So this is the quantum computer of Google. Sycamore is nothing but the name of the processor. Their qubit processor is called Sycamore. So Google claimed quantum supremacy. So they did a task in 200 seconds, right? Using Sycamore, their quantum computer, they did a task in 200 seconds, which would have taken 10,000 years for a normal computer to complete, or for a supercomputer to complete, not normal computer. A supercomputer would have taken 10,000 years to complete this problem, which was solved by the Sycamore in 200 seconds. So Google claimed that they have achieved quantum supremacy because quantum computers are only in development. So far, no country like China has recently claimed they have achieved quantum supremacy. Maybe or may not be true, but countries are slowly achieving this process of quantum supremacy. So this is another area. So if you solve something using quantum computers, a problem, is called quantum supremacy. And applications, as I told, it can be used in all kind of researches. It can be used in secure communication. It can be used in pharmaceuticals. It can be used in Industrial Revolution 4.0. Whatever we want to achieve, artificial intelligence, blockchain, robotics, all these applications, big data, quantum computers can play a big role. Okay, so applications of quantum computers can be a possible question. Now, the last thing you have to understand in quantum computers is that we have a mission in this quantum technology also, National Mission on Quantum Technology and Applications. National Mission on Quantum Technology and Applications. So this was announced in the 2020 budget. 2020 budget, this was announced with a budget of 8,000 crore. So I think in March, a report had been submitted of how to implement it. The details is yet to come out. Like supercomputing mission, we know all the details. It was announced in 2015, and I told you all the details of the 3 phases and what we are planning to do, etc. Quantum computers, it was just announced with a budget of 8,000 crore. So can be a probable question in the mains or in further exams. Keep yourself updated. And one more scheme in this quantum is Quest, quantum enabled science and technology. Okay, so this is an initiative of Department of Science and Technology which started in 2018. Okay, so Quest was started by Department of Science and Technology in 2018, and it had a budget of say 80 crore for 3 years, etc. It started with a 80 crore budget for 3 years, and we wanted to accelerate the research in quantum technology. That was the initiative of, that was the mission of Quest, to accelerate research in quantum technology. And ultimately, India is trying to build a quantum computer in the next decade. So in the next 10 years, we might build a quantum computer, but we are still struggling in the supercomputing phase. We started in 2015, supercomputing mission. Still, we have only five plus few more computers have come. So we wanted to build 70 supercomputers by 2022. We hardly have 5 to 10 supercomputers which is being built. So again, the initiative funds, etc., has to flow for this to happen. All right. So this is what I have to discuss. Within our span of time, this is what I wanted to discuss. So I told you some topics which you should study. You will have one more science and technology current affairs class by Sucharitan sir. He will be dealing with space, biotechnology, etc., nanotechnology, etc. Those topics, current affairs, will be discussed by him. So I have tried to cover mostly ICT related topics, because that is one area from which you should expect questions. Defense, I told you what all to study. It is mostly factual. There is nothing much to discuss in defense. That is why I did not go to. Then another area we have to focus is green technology, right? So there will be some questions from green technology, like either lithium ion batteries or hydrogen fuel, hydrogen cells, all these things. You should expect questions. So plus the whatever I told you in the beginning, first part of the class, topics you should focus. Please do, at least if you have if you're not studying anything else in science and technology also, at least those topics please try to Google or study and find. Then one book, if you ask me what is the one book you can refer to, I will suggest the old NCERTs of class 9 and 10. That is one source to get all the static topics, right? And here also I'm not asking you to sit and read the whole NCERT. It is not the time now. But major some chapters like technology, nuclear technology, or this kind of factual things about the technologies, you will get from the NCERTs of old NCERT of class 9 and 10. Then I gave you some chapters of this biology book of class 12 to read, plus revise current affairs. Okay, this is what you can do. Plus understand the trend of questions. This is applicable to all papers. There is some areas from which they keep on asking questions, or at least some areas from which they keep on asking questions. To understand this trend, nothing is foolproof. I'm not saying the questions will come from only these areas, but UPSC is unpredictable. So questions can pop up. Maybe this year everything might be current affairs. Last year current affairs was very less. This year they might switch it to full-on current affairs mode like 2016, or it will be more factual as 2020. Nothing is predictable. Anyway, you make both sides safe. The theoretical part should be strong, plus update it with your current affairs. Out of 10 to 13 questions you will be able to write, and then as I told, apply the elimination techniques. Even if you do not know the statements of science and technology, read through the statements, and at times you will understand that certain statements are blunder. or certain statements is not logically right. So elimination will be possible to some extent in science and technology questions. And as I said, if nothing works, think if all of the above works. Okay, this is another cheat code I can suggest for science and technology. At times it work. Again, don't put it on me that I told. So everything in science and technology is D, it will not work. So logically apply your sense and do science and technology questions. So wishing you all the very best for all the subjects. Hopefully that all of you crack the prelims. So that's it. Thank you so much.